like it already. Secluded island. Got that Middle Eastern score in the beginning there.
But the acid potency stats have definitely dropped below the mean during the last
Don't slip in.
quarter.
Better than a computer, isn't she?
Give her a buzz. Ooh.
I miss my boy's birthday, filling out forms, I'll kill you again.
Lights.
I'm looking at these readings, Jimmy, and the potency...
Oh, lighten up. It's not like anyone was hurt.
Whatever you're up to, I personally like to be a part of it. What?
Ooh. Interesting. His reaction to Amy there.
13th century.
Oh, we've gone all medieval.
I'm not sure about that.
Really? Medieval expert, are you?
No, it's just that I can hear Dusty Springfield.
And he is a medieval expert. 2,000 years.
These Dusty Springfield loving monks then.
I think we're here. This is it.
Doctor, what are you talking about? We've never been here before.
Being
We
stalked.
came here by accident.
Accident?
So let's ask him, who the hell are you?
Well, I'm the Doctor and this is Amy and Rory and it's all very nice, isn't it?
Hold up.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you all? Like identical twins?
Yeah. Doesn't their uniform, or not this one, like the shell, the outer shell, doesn't it kind of look like the Jadoon? Their outfit? Almost. Kind of similar.
And there you are.
Meet the government's worst kept secret, the flesh. It's fully programmable matter. In fact, it's even learning to replicate itself at the cellular level. Once a reading's been taken, we can manipulate its molecular structure into anything. Replicate a living organism down to the hairs on its chin.
Yeah.
Even clothes.
You said it could grow, only living things grow.
Moss grows. It's no more than that. This acid is so dangerous, we were losing a worker every week. Jennifer, I want you in your ganger. Get back to the harness.
Jen is...
What's he up to? What are you up to, pal?
Stop it.
Ooh.
For a moment there, it was scanning me.
Doctor.
I understand. I mean, I felt it in my mind. I reached out to it and it to me.
Don't fiddle with the money, Doctor.
How can you be so blinkered? It's alive, so alive. You're piling your lives, your personalities directly into it. Jennifer, Lucas.
The meter is running.
Jen? He reminds me of that Black Mirror episode. This is so creepy. Oh, okay.
Well, I can see why you keep it in a church. Miracle of life.
To get Ponzi, it's just gunge.
Guys, we need to get to work. We have 200 tons of acid to pump out. We fall behind, we stay another rotation. Anyone want that?
Please, you are making a massive mistake here. You're right at the crossroads of it. Don't turn the wrong way. If you don't prepare for this storm, you are...
What's going on back there?
Terrible danger, understand?
My factory. My rules.
You got kind of hands-on there.
Amy, breathe.
Yeah. I mean, thanks. I'll try.
That was a bit strange. Yeah. There's a split moment of that, right? Before she completely turned human, or her human form. Look at that hair. Yeah.
It hurts so much.
Hey, it's okay. It's over.
I couldn't get out of my harness. I thought I was going to die.
Welcome to my world.
Don't worry. When the link shuts down, the gang has returned to pure flesh. Now, the storm's left us with acid leaks all over, so we need to contact the
I
mainland.
don't know
They
about
can have a
that.
rescue shuttle out here in no time.
That's my record. Who's playing my record?
You're a ganger.
Gangers. They can walk about.
No, it's impossible. They're not active. Cars don't fly themselves, cranes don't lift themselves, and gangers don't...
They feel compelled to connect to their lives.
They're stolen lives.
No, Queeth, you gave them this. You brought in
Exactly.
their personalities, emotions, traits, memories, secrets, everything. You gave them your lives. Human lives are amazing.
I feel funny. I need the washroom.
Grandad.
Well, your gang's granddad taught him to do it too. You both have the same childhood memories, just as clear, just as real.
A perfect counterpart. The plate's too hot, but she can hold it.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Transmatter's still a little rubbery. Nerve endings not quite fused properly.
Yeah.
You don't have to hide. Please, trust me. I'm the doctor.
Doctor, what's happened to her?
She can't stabilize. She's shifting between half-formed and full-formed. For now, at least.
We are living.
Rory!
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Early technology is what you said. You seem to know something about the flesh.
Huh.
Do you?
Is that right?
Doctor?
Why is he looking at Amy like this?
You know Weatherman. Why are you really here?
I have to talk to them. I can fix this.
Okay. There's something going on here, folks.
Exit. Keep going straight, can't miss it, but you're never going to get your vehicle in here.
I'm great, Parker.
The doctor is uneasy about something. Since the beginning of the episode. Wow. I mean, he's certainly, uneasy about the whole positive, negative pregnancy.
My name is Jennifer Lucas. I'm not a factory part. I had toast for my breakfast. I wrote a letter to my mum. I noticed your eyes right off.
Did you?
Nice eyes.
Kind eyes.
Kind.
Really kind.
I'm not a monster. I am me. Me, me, me. Why did they do this to us?
There's,
Help me, Rory. Help me.
there's a lot of great subtext here. I feel like there's a lot of great subtext here. Especially given his behavior every now and then since the beginning of the episode.
Trust me.
Oh. Oh. Trust me, I'm the doctor. Wow. Score.
You used my name, thank you.
Amy's gonna walk in on one of these moments.
Amy's a lucky girl.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she is. Hell yeah.
Amy!
Eye patch lady.
Nobody touches her!
Kind Rory. Eye patch lady, eye patch lady. Checking in once again.
I'm real.
You're a copy.
Hey, man, come on now.
You're just pretending to be like her. I know that she's afraid, and she needs our help.
Rory can relate because he was a copy, remember? For a long time.
Hello.
Oh boy. Alright, folks. Calm down, calm down.
This is... You're telling me?
Doctor.
What about me? He's my son too? You?
You really think that? I feel it. Oh, so you were there when he was born, were you?
Yeah. I drank about 8 pints of tea. Then they told me I had a wee boy, and I just burst out laughing. I miss home.
as much as you.
Maybe a change of perspective, my friend.
Look at what you have done.
The bow tie is blue.
Leaves.
If it's war, then it's war. You don't get it, Doctor.
Why do I keep thinking it was red?
Trust me.
Oh, it's the doctor. His ganger.
They're coming back. In a big way.
Yeah. Shh. The rebel flesh.
Jen's out there. She's out there and she's on her own.
What, if she's got any sense, then she's hiding. Rory!
I can't leave her out there!
Rory!
Why?
This is going to be
Show yourself!
the doctor ganger.
Correct in every respect, Pond. It's frightening, unexpected, frankly a total utter splattering mess on the carpet, but I am certain, 100% certain that we can work this out.
Oh my god.
Trust me.
I'm the doctor.
I'm the doctor.
That sets it up nicely, doesn't it? For this part 2. Dr. Goo, essentially. Doppelganger, Dr. Goo. But you know, the insane thing is, it is a replica. It is, I guess it is a Time Lord, right? A copy, a replicant of a Time Lord, essentially, right? Unless, of course, you know, they kind of go into that aspect of it in the next episode, right? The connotations of potentially trying to replicate a Time Lord. And, you know, notice how the Doctor almost immediately, upon finding out that indeed this is the substance that actually kind of, you know, replicates a person or, you know, an organism, a living organism, he puts his hand in there, right? He puts his hand in there. You know, throughout the episode, I think the Doctor's behavior, his reactions to things, you know, even showing up in this place in the first place, everything should be noted, I think. There's something going on here. There is clearly something going on here. Now, you know, to me, it feels like the Doctor knew about many of the things that are playing out here, right? In fact, right at the beginning of the episode, you know, once they kind of crash land, and, you know, I kind of say crash landing loosely because from the looks of it, the Doctor actually wanted to come here, right? You know, he called them the almost people right at the beginning, right? As Amy, Rory, and the Doctor are kind of, you know, in the beginning stages of trying to look around. And, you know, in terms of the setting, I thought it was beautifully staged. I thought the setting was quite fitting for this premise, right? I loved the tone of it. I loved the atmosphere, the claustrophobic nature of it all. It really, really helped in inducing that paranoia, right? Being stuck in there. And I do feel like there is a distinct homage to The Thing. And The Thing, in my opinion, is one of the greatest monster flicks ever made. One of the greatest science fiction films ever made. And, you know, in that sense, one of the reasons I really enjoyed this episode. Now, again, you know, I have no idea how this is rated in terms of other Doctor Who fans. You know, a thing I've noticed is that there could be an episode of Doctor Who that, you know, a section of the fan base might just adore, right? Really love, a cult classic even. But for many, it's not the greatest. You know, for me, that was great. I thought that was really actually quite fantastic. And, you know, I think a major aspect of that, or reason for that, is because of some of the themes on display or depicted in the plot of this episode, in part 1 of this episode. You know, that whole premise of sentient beings, clones, replicas, right? Made in the image of the original. You know, the whole moral conundrum, right? The ethical dilemma of this type of situation. You know, what exactly does it mean to be human, right? I just love that premise. You know, and it really reminded me of a lot of great films and shows even. You know, Blade Runner, in my opinion, the greatest science fiction film of all time. Again, you know, these are all just my opinions, but yeah, that is my opinion. Again, replicants, right? More human than human is our motto. You've got stuff like The Island, the Michael Bay film. That I actually really enjoyed that film. Again, because of the premise, for sure, right? Clones being used for spare parts, essentially, right? And the whole ethical conundrum of that situation. Rich people being able to afford clones, but then utilizing them for spare parts. It's a perfect carbon copy. Of course, there's the hosts from the recent Westworld television show from HBO. It's not that recent, but much more recent than things like The Thing and Blade Runner, of course. Love their take on that as well. Of course, I really do need to go catch up on that. I think I stopped at like season 2, the first half of season 2. Though, of course, I've heard that it takes bit of a nosedive, following season 2. I believe season 4 is airing at the moment. But yeah, season 3 wasn't a fan favorite from the sounds of things. But I still do want to catch up on it. Because, the first season of that show is one of the greatest of all time, of any show. As like a standalone first season. Wow. It's phenomenal. Duncan Jones made a fantastic film years ago. It's called Moon. I think it's a phenomenal science fiction film. I highly recommend that if you really enjoyed this premise. I don't want to go any further in terms of potentially spoiling anything from it, but yeah, if you're a big sci-fi fan, go check that out as well. And any of these others I've mentioned if you haven't seen them yet. But yeah, so for that reason, I was immediately sucked in, right? Immediately sucked into the plot. Yes, there's, as any two-parter, there's, a lot of setup, there's a lot of build-up, exposition, and, indeed it does feel like half a story as of this point, right? It's kind of like the midpoint of the second act. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. But yeah, let me kind of circle back to the ending. A second doctor, oh my goodness. This next episode is about to be bonkers. It really is. I must admit, my initial thought, almost immediately as the episode ended, was, does this have anything? Could this play any part in the opening two-parter, right? The Impossible Astronaut, right? The doctor getting shot, and then once again getting shot mid-regeneration, Could this potential Dr. Goo or Dr. Ganger play a part in any of that, right? I don't know. It's too early to kind of go down that path. But, I must admit, the thought occurred to me. It did, right? But this next episode and how it concludes and builds up, right? That should make it a bit more clear in terms of, that possibility. I noticed that once again, there is a case of missing time in this episode as well. And to me, it kind of feels like it's intentional that place and time is a bit ambiguous throughout this episode as well. But also, in terms of any potential connection to the doctor that does get shot in the Impossible Planet, I guess I'll have to kind of pinpoint the exact time difference here because they mentioned the 22nd century, right? So again, I'm not entirely sure in terms of the time difference, from the Impossible Planet and the 22nd century. So yeah, let's see if it's around the 200-year mark. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. But, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like the doctor knew about this place. At the beginning of the episode, he was really quite, again, uneasy. They're all hanging out. Amy and Rory are kind of hanging out, but the doctor is concerned. And once again, his concern is because of this positive negative pregnancy test that's coming up in the TARDIS, right? And as Amy approaches him, he's got this really strange reaction to her, almost as if he's kind of standoffish, right? Really studying her. And there's a few moments of that, him really kind of turning towards Amy and studying her. The one that really stands out is the one in that washroom, essentially, right? As the other guy, again, I can't remember all the names, but, the one guy, he kind of clocks it and he confronts the doctor, right? He tells him, hey, listen, okay, I'm starting to think you're not some person who's here to check up on this. You know some of the things that are going on here, right? You knew about the flesh, essentially, right? He confronts him. And, you know, of course, Amy goes towards the doctor, and she's also asking him, do you know anything about this flesh? He turns and he really looks at her, starts to study her. Now, I was going to save this for a bit later, but, you know, let's just get into it. There's something going on here, folks. I think in this episode, they made it really quite unmissable. In this episode, it's really quite noticeable that the doctor knows there's something going on, once again, with Amy, right? The outlier. And, you know, notice how it's also quite noticeable in this episode that, you know, even if Amy's in the background, she's always noticeable, right? She's lit in a manner that makes her noticeable, even in a background shot, right? She'll be out of focus, but she'll be in the background and she's still lit, right? So it kind of continues that. From series 5, right? Amy is always noticeable, right? Again, the outlier. Now, I firmly believe that there's a reason that they're introducing this here, right? Again, long form storytelling, right? I think it's at play. And, you know, by introducing, I mean introducing the flesh, right? And the whole aspect of a perfect counterpart, the copies that have the same childhood memories, all the memories and experiences. You know, life is precious and freedom is a birthright, right? These are sentient beings. And of course, you know, as expected, the doctor did not like some of the treatment from the human counterparts, right? They're really quite dismissive of the situation these clones or these copies, replicants find themselves in. You know, they're quite hostile towards their clones, intensely hostile, right? Though of course, you know, there's some great moments here and there as, you know, the flesh counterpart kind of is able to, you know, mention a memory that is so deeply personal that, you know, the human counterpart has no choice but to take it seriously and realize, oh, okay, this is a bit more than I thought, you know. These are living sentient beings. Of course, you know, them becoming sentient is because of that storm, that solar flash, was it? Something along those lines. And I must say, the CGI was quite great. It was really quite good looking, wasn't it? But yeah, you know, there's a few moments of that. Though, of course, you know, the leader, Cleves, was it? You know, she's really, really dismissive of it all, right? To them, they're just tools, right? Though, of course, you know, you could argue, you know, that's not my argument, but you could argue that as a leader, you know, she might be doing the right thing in kind of, you know, almost removing herself from that thought process, right? To always kind of see them as tools and nothing else. So the thing she's employed for can be completed, right? And apparently they are commissioned by someone. You know, I'm not sure if that's a big thing, but, you know, let's kind of put a pin in that as well. You know, who commissioned this? I mean, long story short, you know, it feels like she's taking a nothing personal, just business type of stance, right? Though again, she is really quite dismissive of the clones, really quite dismissive. And you see, because of her actions, you know, the clones, the flesh, essentially kind of take the next step, right? Because at first it's being puzzled, you know, they're confused, they're hurt. Then, you know, upon seeing the death of one of their counterparts or one of their friends, essentially, right? Goo friends or flesh friends, clones, then it escalates to the next stage, anger, right? Anger at their creators for treating them in this manner after bringing them into the world, essentially, right? They put them there in the first place. Yes, you know, them becoming sentient wasn't part of the plans or anything, but it happened nonetheless. And of course, hence the name, the Rebel Flesh. Now, you know, there's a bit of a war, a civil war, essentially, inside this, you know, claustrophobic setting. Again, I thought it really was staged quite fantastically. I mean, yes, a lot of long corridors, but I think in this case, it actually is quite effective. You know, I feel like this was some fantastic sci-fi television. It really was. Again, you know, it could be a preference thing. I'm sure for some this is boring. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, but for me, it was really quite exciting, actually. Now then, let me circle back. You know, I was about to mention my theory on the matter. You know, let's kind of use something I mentioned in one of my last few discussions, right? It appears that Amy, it's starting to feel like that Amy is in two places at the same time. Remember, this kind of, actually, it was in my, the Curse of the Black Spot discussion, right? Once again, the eye patch lady makes an appearance, right? Checking in on Amy. So I think, you know, this episode really kind of enhances that potential theory for me, right? That possibility that she might be in two places at the same time. And from time to time, she's kind of experiencing something that's going on in another version of herself, right? And that version is, I don't know, man, some place that this eye patch lady kind of keeps checking in on. So here's a theory out of a lot of the setup in this episode. I think the theory here is that, is there a ganger of Amy out there, right? And our Amy kind of almost links with the other Amy, the ganger Amy, from time to time. You know, the ganger Amy being in some place, the same place as this eye patch lady, right? So she's kind of connecting and kind of experiencing the same thing as her ganger, right? If there is a ganger of her out there. So, you know, that's my kind of stance or theory on that at this moment in time. And again, you know, there's a lot of telltale signs in this episode. You know, the doctor really studying Amy, right? Yeah, he knows. It's one of those moments or one of those situations or setups, you know, that the doctor knows that something is going on with Amy. And, you know, slowly in the background, he's kind of doing his own research and trying to figure things out. And, you know, his research, perhaps this was the next stop, right? He was going to come here. He called them the almost people before he even meets any of them, right? And, you know, there's also this really great line that could have another meaning, of course. They're coming back in a big way, right? It was near the conclusion of the episode. So yeah, you know, that's my stance on the matter at this point, that there might be a ganger of Amy out there. And it feels like it's all kind of tied to her potential child being snatched, because I still maintain that is Amy and Rory's child. And notice how he's telling Amy to breathe just randomly. And, you know, rightfully so, Amy is quite puzzled by this. Now, you know, I brought up the possibility of the eye patch lady being a midwife, right? In the discussion for the Curse of the Black Spot, because of the things she was saying. It's going to be all right. You'll be fine. You're something along those lines, right? Now here he's saying, breathe, just breathe. That sounds like something you tell someone who is in labor. So I do think the doctor might have a good idea at this moment in time about this whole, you know, positive, negative pregnancy thing that's going on, right? And it brought him to this island as well, right? Yeah. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of even in this episode, there's a lot of shots of just focusing on Amy, right? She's not saying anything. It'll just randomly kind of just focus on Amy, just kind of looking and listening. And of course, you know, there's a lot of potential here for a lot of mix-ups in the next episode as well, right? Is this the real deal? Is that the real deal, right? You know, they're so perfectly replicated, the perfect counterparts, that indeed, if someone wanted, you know, they could take the real human's place, right? I feel like there is a lot of potential for that type of hijinks in the next episode. And then, of course, you know, there's so many, you know, what if questions that can come out of this, the moral conundrum of it all, right? The whole aspect of them, the copies feeling so real, everything about them feeling so real, that they've lived an entire life, that they are a living being, right? You know, what if, for example, one of them was to die, right? In a situation like this, could the counterpart kind of step in? Could they slot in and kind of take that role, right? Then, of course, there's the ethical question, you know, should that be allowed? You know, someone kind of, it's an extreme example, of course, someone dying and then their counterpart stepping in, and I guess not really telling the person's family that they are a counterpart. Could the family ever even figure it out, right? If no one was to actually bring it up or tell them. I mean, that right there is a potential horror story, isn't it? A perfect copy kind of taking the place of the human it was copied from and kind of living their life, right? And no one even knows about it, right? I've seen a film that is similar to that concept. I was mentioning things it's similar to Black Mirror. Black Mirror did an episode that was really quite like this, right? Build your own human. In one of the episodes, someone's loved one passes on, and then there's a service that kind of lets you build your loved one, build them in a bathtub, essentially, right? So, the imagery is really quite similar in this as well, right? Though this came out before that Black Mirror episode. There's a lot of other great setup moments. The doctor's shoes getting left behind. That to me felt a lot like his jacket getting left behind in series 5, right? And of course, that ended up playing a major part in the finale of that series, right? Because again, it turned out that there was a future doctor that came back to the forest and spoke with Amy. So, they really lingered the shot. The shot really lingers on the shoes that got left behind. So let's see how that plays into it all. That being said, at the end, I did see the doctor's replica, essentially. And earlier on, they set up that indeed it can reproduce clothing and all of that stuff. So that doctor is going to have those shoes, right? So let's see how that kind of plays out. And by that doctor, I mean Dr. Goo, the Dr. Ganger. There's also the sneezing guy. They bring your attention to that twice. So I feel like, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of potential for, mix-ups in the next episode, given that there are copies running around and they're kind of, at war at this point. Hell, there's even a possibility that people that are established as the human version might already be a copy, right? Or going into the next episode, there might be a lot of that, people thinking, even the people that believe they're human, the original copy might actually end up being a copy as well, right? Again, it kind of goes back to the missing time aspect of this as well, right? Again, I don't want to get into spoilers about other stuff I've seen. That's, I'm drawing a lot from some of the other stuff I've seen. Replicas or perfect copies believing they are the real deal. But ultimately turns out that, they are a copy themselves, right? And it's kind of like a heartbreaking moment for them to realize this. And again, I felt like there's a bit of Frankenstein's monster about this, some of the presentation in this. Hell, there's even a moment in series 5, right? It's one of the earlier episodes. It's the Churchill episode, right? The android there, right? He didn't even know he's an android up until later in the episode. And I've got to say, one of the best parts of this episode is all the focus on Rory or the focus on his plot in this episode. And I loved how it's kind of like they gave him some independent agency in this one, right? His plot in this episode does not kind of connect to Amy at all, because usually it's him acting out in his love for Amy to protect Amy, right? Here, no, has nothing to do with Amy, right? Here, it's all about kind of his protective nature, that kind and loving and caring nature, selfless nature, kind of on display, and him becoming this clone's protector, right? Him really understanding the predicament she's in. And again, as I mentioned, during the episode, he understands because he himself spent a long time as a copy himself, right? He knows just how real it is. Man, I love Rory so much. I really do. And I love how Jen kind of notices that kindness, those kind eyes. But I absolutely love the focus on Rory in this one. I really do. And speaking of Jen, really from really early on in the episode, it was clear there's something going on here. And in terms of Jen, right? They really draw our attention to Jen. So yeah, I'm sure Jen is about to play a part in the second episode as well. And of course, you know, Rory is out here looking for Jen. In fact, he made the choice to not go inside that room to barricade himself. He's out there. He's out there. He made the choice to go out there and look for her, right? She needs protection. But yeah, I think it's all set up nicely, folks. I'm really, really quite excited for part 2 because the possibilities are really quite intriguing, enticing. So yeah, this has the potential to become one of my favorite 2-parters, right? Let's see how part 2 plays out. Yeah, oh yeah. Right then, that's about it for this one. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you like this episode, or perhaps this was a bit of a dud for you, right? Give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length for this episode or any of the other episodes that came before this, consider checking out the Patreon page, perhaps even for early access. The link is in the description, in the pinned comment. Also, I'm on social media, if that's your thing. Again, link in the description and the pinned comment. Right then, thank you for joining me for this one, and thank you for your time, as time is precious. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.